Thank you very much for this opportunity to allow me to say a few cursory remarks in regards to the 2021-22 budget. As you know, the opposition has its official response next week, Friday, but these are my initial thoughts and comments that I would like to share with the people of Bermuda. In essence, 2020 will forever be remembered for generations to come as the year that COVID-19 struck the world without warning, causing it to go into a free fall. It took global collaboration to agree to shelter in place, wear masks, social distance, and now we have the introduction of the vaccine and various vaccine delivery programs. We in the opposition are very grateful for the government's management of the virus so far, and that we believe that we hope that the vaccine management and the COVID mitigation management continues at the same plane, and that we encourage the people of Bermuda to play their part. Having said that, though, the COVID-19 shock and challenges was a real shock to our economy. It was a shock to Bermuda. In essence, from a business point of view, it was a stress test that revealed that our fiscal management was severely wanting. In addition, it revealed weaknesses in Bermuda's fiscal and economic framework. Now let's talk about that and fiscal prudence. In regards to fiscal prudence, as the minister said, he restructured our debt back in August of last year, and we support that initiative. As you know, I'm a banker by profession, and sometimes it makes eminent sense to refinance your debt if the market conditions are right. And the market conditions were correct last year for the Minister of Finance to refinance the country's debt. And we will support him in that space. Having said that, there are other issues that need to be addressed from a fiscal prudence point of view. And they were raised in one of our most recent audit reports. And the first issue that I'd like to speak to is the issue of financial statements. As you may or may not know, there are 39 organizations within government that basically are 1 year in arrears or more in regards to the production of financial statements. Here I'm talking about the Quangos, I'm talking about other government agencies. And so if we can get the financial statements current, government cannot run without timely information. In fact, it is so bad, as I said, there are 39 organizations that have financials 1 year in arrears. But as far as the number of outstanding financial statements, I've been advised that there are 139 financial statements that have been outstanding at this time. And so again, that needs to be addressed, because if we are to manage our government efficiently, we need to ensure that we have data that we can rely on, and that we have a statement that can give a snapshot of where the government is financially at any point in time. The other issue that I'd like to speak to is the issue of taxpayer indebtedness to the government of Bermuda. Right now, the government has accounts receivable of approximately $100 million. Nothing was mentioned in this budget about the management of the government's accounts receivables. Nothing was mentioned in this budget response in regards to the recovery management of these receivables. Nothing was mentioned, or no deals were provided in what criteria the government uses to write off receivables. They provided no details on how much was written off. In addition, there were no details in regards to the age receivables management. The other issue that I would like to speak to is the issue of unfunded liability in regards to our pension plans. They were silent. No mention. You have the government superannuation fund. You have the members and ministers pension fund. And you have other government pension funds. And you will note that actuarially, as I said before, they are underfunded by $1.47 billion. How are those retirees going to survive if we continue to be unfunded? The interesting thing is this. We've been talking quite a bit about our debt, and the Minister of Finance has indicated that our debt is, from a gross point of view, is at approximately $3.3 billion. Now, let's look at the liability of the government. The debt and liability are two different things. If we could look at the liability of government, the liability of government currently rests at $4.5 billion, which is the $3.3 million in outstanding debt and approximately $1.4 billion in unfunded pension liability. So again, our liability picture and our debt picture as a country is not very positive. And no mention of the total liability picture was spoken to in today's budget statement. In regards to the recovery plan, the minister provided details on a number of initiatives, but to me they were aspirational, low on details, and low on transformative effects. I take the view, and my team takes the view, that we support their plans to combat COVID-19 as a priority. And we will do all that we can to help mitigate the risk associated with COVID-19. You will also note that there was a section in the recovery plan that will address the reduction in the cost of living. What have we seen in the past 3 years in regards to the cost of living reduction? We had a commission that studied it. We had a commission that provided a report to the House, and what implementation has taken place that has shifted the dial in regards to reducing the cost of living. I know that we had a sugar tax increase, and as you all know by now, the sugar tax increase has in fact increased the cost of living. So we've talked about a number of things in regards to reducing the cost of living, but the average man in the street does not feel that the cost of living in this country is reducing. They talk about fiscal prudence. Well, I just demonstrated to you earlier that they need more work in regards to fiscal prudence. They provided little details on how this government is going to enhance fiscal prudence in the coming year. You spoke about fairness and equity. Again, very aspirational. What does it mean? Are we treating people equally, irrespective of their color, their race, their sexuality, their marital status? No details provided. We've spoken quite a bit about the gaming industry. Again, they have not sealed that down. That gaming industry is still fraught with challenges. And the challenge and concern that I have is that we have a hotel opening in May. They have a large casino hall, and yet they are still not confident that this government will deliver on its commitment in the development plan that will allow them to have a casino when the hotel opens in May. I suspect the same issue will apply to the second establishment, which also has a provisional casino license. Again, did the government of Bermuda meet their commitment as prescribed in the hotel development contract? No. Another issue that was not addressed in further detail, you've heard the Premier and the Economic Development team talk about the digital industry. Very little was said about the priorities of the digital industry going forward and what resources will be made available to support the digital industry. You note that the Premier has spoken about the digital bank, and we've also spoken about digital gaming. And this is interesting. We spoke about digital gaming, but the reality is most of the players involved in gaming do not understand how that's going to work. So again, I believe that more details need to be provided to the people of this country in regards to the economic recovery plan. It has to be more than aspirational. The government needs to put more meat on those bones. You will recall that there was a decline in jobs because of the virus, and a lot of people were challenged. There was the unemployment insurance, which was put in place by the government, and I support that endeavor. But I also take the view that while those employees are unemployed, we should help them to retool themselves so that they are more attractive to our employers so that they can get back on the employment ladder. As you know, the economic report that was produced with this budget showed a decline of 1,935 jobs in 2020. This was a 5.6% decrease from last year. How are we going to address the unemployment situation? How are we going to create jobs? What are the government's strategies to provide and improve youth unemployment? I'll close. No, I'm not going to close yet. I'll just add another issue that I think needs to be addressed. Another very, very important issue that was not mentioned in the budget was any reference to a commitment to education and sports. As you know, education and sports is crucial to the development of our young people. Education and sports provides discipline, self-respect, responsibility, and growth for our young people. If our young people do not have access to this education and sports, then we'll pay for it down the road. So again, we need to have resources addressed to education and sports in this country. I know that the Minister of Education has spoken continuously about his plans to restructure education, restructure the delivery of education. He's reviewing the physical plant in our primary schools, but yet there was nothing mentioned in regards to allocating resources to the young people for their advancement in education. I see that the cannabis industry is probably getting more attention at this time than education and sports. So I think it needs to be addressed. In closing, you will also note, and I noted with interest, the comments made about our relationship with the UK. Last week, you will note the parade that the Premier, the Honorable David Burt, had in regards to his perceived relationship with the governor and government house and our relationship with the UK. It's very interesting because based on today's budget statement, the Premier and the Minister of Finance is not on the same page. The Minister of Finance basically takes the view that when it comes to geopolitical risk, government continues to engage with the UK to help with our trading partners. They also continue to work with the UK in helping us address climate change. The UK and the government of Bermuda are working hand in hand to progress strategies that will mitigate and address the impact of climate. In addition, you can't forget that the UK government continues to provide us with free vaccines for COVID-19. And now, as a result, we are probably the most protected country in the world in regards to COVID, and that we are in the top 10 countries that have inoculated its population. So to call the vaccination of our people a trinket is irresponsible, especially given the fact that the UK is still our partner and that the Minister of Finance still depends on the UK to support them to build trading partners and also to draw on their knowledge and expertise in regards to the risk mitigants and the impact of climate change. And in those brief comments, those are my cursory remarks, and I look forward to speaking to the people of this country next week when I present my official response to the budget. Thank you.